Hey, what is going on? We're back with a brand new video, and today we will be discussing the evolutionary psychology of Two-Face in the Batman comics. While evolutionary psychology is a relatively new field in the science of psychology, it is, I feel, one of the better supported theories of viewing the human mind contra Freud, probably Jung as well. As much as I enjoy reading both of those authors and those theorists, I think evolutionary psychology is much more supported by our history as humans and by biological history as well. So evolutionary psychology is largely created and cited as the author being David Buss, and it was a theory created during the 1980s and 1990s. While the theory has taken further prominence as further investigations and research have supported the claims by Buss and Darwin, it also supports the earlier work of Leda Cosmides and John Tooby. Evolutionary psychology is a continuation of Darwin's work with anthropology as well. While many cite Darwin as the founder of this field, his work in anthropology created the foundation for evolutionary psychology, despite his support of how evolution would change the way we view psychology in the future. It wasn't really Darwin's work specifically that helped this field become as prominent as it is now. Evolutionary psychology is a theory which approaches human thoughts, behavior, and emotion through the lens of evolution or natural selection. The theory further posits that the human mind is a complex network of psychological mechanisms that evolved to serve a specific purpose for pre-hominins or hominins. Such mechanisms evolved to face realities such as starvation through a lack of food, mate selection, cooperation with kin, and social hierarchies. Furthermore, emotions, as previously discussed, are evolutionarily adapted traits in order to ensure one's survival. Emotions such as aggression, which we see in Two-Face and we'll discuss later, empathy and fear are all evolved traits in order to protect the survival of oneself and their group. According to Douglas T. Kenrick, in the evolutionary view, an animal's brain and body are composed of mechanisms designed to work together to facilitate success within the environments that were commonly encountered by that animal's ancestors. Thus, a killer whale, though distantly related to a cow, would not do well with a cow's brain, since the killer whale needs a brain designed to control a body that tracks prey in an ocean rather than eating grass in a meadow. Likewise, a bat, though also a mammal, needs a brain designed to run a tiny body that flies around catching insects at high speeds in the dark. Evolutionary psychologists ask, what are the implications of human evolutionary history, e.g., living in omnivorous and hierarchical primate groups populated by kin for the design of the human mind? Furthermore, zoologists have discovered many traits that do not align with those of Homo sapiens, which may be further support for the creations of certain traits as they aid a specific species with differing survival needs. For example, dogs utilize senses such as smell for hunting, and consequently do not have or do have many more olfactory receptors than humans. On the other hand, humans evolved to incorporate color in their vision, which dogs do not possess to the same degree. This trait may have evolved to help distinguish ripe fruit from unripened fruit and aid in daytime vision to avoid predators. Similarly, bats have echolocation mechanisms that allow them to create a mental equivalent to a sonogram in the nighttime, which allows them to move at rapid speed to avoid predators and find insects for food. As such, many domain-specific traits are seen across the animal kingdom, which were evolved to support one's survival and those around them if need be. So, with that kind of history and understanding of evolutionary psychology, we can now understand how this would relate to Two-Face. And I'll be looking at different versions of the character, so it won't be one specific version, but I just wanted to look at how we see this incorporated in this character throughout comic history. So yeah, let's get into it. So according to Batman Year One by Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli, Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face, was an assistant district attorney working in Gotham City. As he was working in Gotham City, a new vigilante the newspapers were calling Batman encouraged Police Commissioner Gordon to work tirelessly to discover the secret identity of the criminal many Gotham citizens are beginning to call hero. One of Gordon's first suspects was Harvey Dent. However, as Gordon continues investigating the Batman throughout the comic, his suspicions turn away from Dent and toward Bruce Wayne. Luckily for Bruce, however, he is able to avoid police detection through a supposed skiing accident. As Batman's first year closes, a surprising spree of murders begin to take place in Gotham City, each happening on specific holidays. The Gotham public begin to call the murderer at large the Holiday Killer. During this period of turmoil in Gotham City as well, Harvey Dent begins to promote his campaign for district attorney after imprisoning a large majority of Gotham City prisoners and crime lords. During one of his most important cases, in which Harvey would uncover the illegal practices of the crime lord the Roman Falcone, Harvey was doused in fast-acting antacid by the witness Sal Maroni, another crime boss in Gotham City, a rival to the Roman. The acid quickly took effect, permanently scarring one half of Harvey Dent, now Two-Face's body. However, even before Two-Face was attacked by Maroni, underlying psychological symptoms began to be displayed as a result of stress and anxiety caused by the death threats to himself and his family and his political campaign. As I discussed at the beginning, I'll be using the evolutionary personality theory created by David Buss. According to the book Theories of Personality by Gregory and Jess Feist, as well as Tommy Ann Roberts, quote, evolutionary theory assumes that the true origins of these, referring to personality traits, reaches far back in ancestral times. The true origin of personality is evolution, meaning that it is caused by an interaction between an ever-changing environment and a change in body and brain, end quote. This means that evolution has favored adaptive traits for survival and social cohesion. Examples of this in Two-Face's circumstance would be aggression, dominance, and alliance formation. Even though these traits are looked down upon in modern society, they played an important role in human history as a way to survive. So with this in mind, I want to uncover the origin of some of his symptoms, Harvey's symptoms, in the comic books themselves. Throughout Batman Year One and The Long Halloween, the audience is introduced to many different indications of mental health concern, which will be discussed later. After the attack on Harvey, his symptoms became manifest in dual personality. One half of his body, the unscarred half, acts upon what is right and just, retaining whatever glimpse of former life Harvey still possessed. The other half of his body, however, is the manifestation of his trauma, both physical and psychological. Furthermore, this half of his body acts upon evil. In order for both halves to live in harmony, however, Two-Face must flip a coin in order to act upon good or evil. However, as shown in different comic books or different forms of media, whenever Harvey's coin is lost or displaced, he seems to take it as a personal attack, and he doesn't exactly know how to respond to certain situations. As mentioned earlier, many of Two-Face's symptoms are shown throughout Batman Year One and The Long Halloween. In the comics, these include multiple personality disorder, obsessive-compulsive disorder, and alluded to trauma. However, I thought it was important as well to view the DSM-5 to see if any of these possible mental disorders did match the characters as the comics said they did, or if there are possible other disorders that may be at large. Two-Face, according to the DSM-5, as far as I was able to tell, may have several mental disorders, including dissociative identity disorder, obsessive-compulsive disorder, paranoia, trauma, and possible nihilism. Each of these disorders plays a huge role in how Two-Face associates with himself and others around him. So with all the background, psychological assessment, and jargon out of the way, let's get down to the details of Two-Face's personality. As discussed previously, each half of Two-Face represents different personas. The Harvey Dent, unscarred half persona is cooperative and centered around law-abiding behavior. The scarred Two-Face half is aggression, retaliatory, and aligns with evolved mechanisms of aggression, control, and exploitation. Two-Face's early childhood trauma, furthermore, heightens sensitivity to threats. As his trauma formerly helped Harvey survive a difficult upbringing, in his adult life it does not help him in the same way. His aggressive drive to maintain safety stemming from his childhood trauma becomes a survival mechanism. And safety, in the case of Harvey, as I've alluded to earlier, is found in an external locus of control. Harvey relies on something beyond his control to make the decisions for him, and in his case, the coin is that control. Without an external decision encouraging Harvey to act in a certain manner, he doesn't know how to react to any circumstance. So let's discuss the coin, Harvey's infamous tool of decision making. About as iconic as the character himself, and perhaps intentionally so, it is difficult for any comic book nerd to picture Harvey without his iconic coin. The top half unscarred, much like himself, revealing a fictional world in which Harvey exists without physical and mental trauma. The other half of the coin reveals a scarred face much like his own. It exists to remind Harvey of life's unfair nature and his own imperfections as a result thereof. Evidently, however, Harvey appears to use his mental and physical wounds as excuses for the actions he takes against other people. According to Travis Langley's book Batman and Psychology, A Dark and Stormy Night, quote, "Now that he, Harvey, has begun to steal and kill, to exercise power over life and death, he might still believe in Harvey Dent, even though he'd rather not. Because holding himself accountable for his transgressions disturbs Dent, Freud might say that the character asserts the reverse of his core belief as a defense mechanism." End quote. Essentially, the author is saying that Dent, in his core being, believes that what he's doing to people is wrong. However, he uses the coin as a defense mechanism against these feelings. A way to A, pin blame onto something external, and B, absolve himself, Harvey, not Two-Face, of any responsibility. How do these traits of Harvey's maintain themselves in the present? Harvey's split personality serves two purposes, not that he would have it any other way. First, Harvey Dent's previous social and personal relationships allow him to maintain a constant presence in the lives of other people. For example, in Batman the Animated Series, the Dark Knight's prior relationship with Harvey Dent allows Batman's emotions of grief to express themselves in the form of money. By doing this, Bruce hopes to bridge the gap between himself and Harvey Dent, while also bringing Harvey back to his original state of being. On the other hand, Two-Face prevents vulnerability through the exertion of power and intimidation. Furthermore, the reaction of other people continue to feed the ego of Two-Face to continue in this unjust manner. The fear Two-Face gives to other people, as well as his power and unpredictability at times, encourages his behavior. And to use David Buss's theory of evolutionary personality, Two-Face's environment may play a large role in his actions. As stated previously, fear and unpredictability and power are all forms in which Two-Face displays his environmental control. However, evolutionarily, his habits were helpful. Take, for example, aggression. Aggression evolved as a survival tool in ancestral environments used strategically to deter rivals, protect resources, or defend kin from threats, ensuring group status and safety without constant conflict. However, in Two-Face's case, it's used to terrorize Gotham City through bombings, executions, and power. Fear is also a tactic used often by Two-Face in these scenarios, as people's lives rest on the decision of a coin toss. Two-Face's dominance in these situations allow him to further his delusion of innocence for the actions he committed. In evolutionary terms, dominance behaviors helped individuals secure mates, allies, and leadership roles in social hierarchies, fostering cooperation and reproduction through displays of strength and fairness. However, for Dent, dominance means suppression of human emotion. This allows him to commit the acts he does with the unguilty conscience, as he believes, logically, that his actions are not his decisions. With Harvey's personality more thoroughly uncovered, we can now look at the way in which therapy or therapeutic responses may help or can help Harvey. As with many people who have suffered from previous trauma, both mental and physical, Harvey should first be placed inside of a mental institution, preferably in prison. While traditionally, many people believe that Arkham Asylum, the infamous house of Batman's psychotic rogues, would be the correct place to put Harvey, I can assure you that
While it is very complex state to state, Harvey would not fit into any asylum under today's psychiatric standards. With this in mind, a mental institution within a prison or externally while serving his prison sentence would be the best option for helping Harvey. Specific interventions such as cognitive restructuring or changing the way that Harvey views his coin as the locus of control would be particularly helpful. Furthermore, reconnection and interventions would be helpful as they would remind Harvey that he's not alone, that there are other people who care for him and want to see him get better. Moreover, trauma-based therapy, both physical and mental, would most likely be the most important contenders as to helping Harvey heal. These forms of therapy would address areas of the body with that residual trauma resides. It would also help Harvey heal. While Harvey's scars would never truly go away, having help provided when he needs it would aid in any regressive tendencies that he may exhibit.
So that will do it for today. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments, because I definitely missed a lot of places, but I did just want to stay in the some of the founding Batman comics, especially as they related to how Harvey was shaped as a character in comics for the future. So yeah, there were definitely a lot of areas that I missed. Let me know if you guys thought that there was a good comic or iteration of the character that could have fit this well as well. So I definitely wanted, I don't remember if I had originally, I recorded this a long time ago, so I don't remember if I originally discussed Batman Dark Victory, but there are definitely some areas in there where we see those evolutionary traits show themselves again as it relates to Harvey's relationship with Porter as well. So as soon as he kind of uses Porter as a mechanism to survive in some sense of, not getting caught with the police and everything. So that would be another way that we could see that. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, and hopefully I'll be recording a bit more often now. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Go check out some of the other stuff that I have, and yeah, bye.